Am I the asshole for going off with my sister after she tried to accuse me of breaking up her marriage for just telling her the truth about her husband? My sister and her husband are going through very public marital issues. To give you the condensed version, basically my brother-in-law was caught cheating on my sister by my wife during an event she happened to be working. She is a bartender. My wife immediately told my sister in private without telling my brother-in-law that she knew. And my sister proceeded to get very angry with my wife, accusing her of ruining her marriage. This culminated in my sister breaking down and screaming at my wife during a family dinner, calling her a whore who likes to break up marriages and a person with no hobbies. My sister's very public rant about my wife led to my brother-in-law admitting in front of my family members that he cheated. This, of course, led to more drama. This all happened a few months ago, and as far as I can tell, my sister and her husband are not going to split up. After this whole situation, I decided to distance myself from my family for a little bit. I thought that my sister needed time to process everything, and I didn't think that it was fair for my wife to subject her to my sister's rage. I sent a long text message essentially telling her that I wanted her to sincerely apologize to my wife. My sister apologized, and I thought that it would be the end of that. Fast forward, my dad invited my wife and I to celebrate his birthday at his place. I knew that everyone would be there, including my sister and her husband, so I was a bit hesitant to go, but my wife assured me that everything would be fine. To start, everything was going well. My sister practically avoided us, which I didn't mind, and my brother-in-law was glued to her side the entire time, so we didn't really face any drama. Everyone was cordial towards one another, and no one mentioned my brother-in-law's infidelity. At one point, I think my wife asked my brother-in-law to move over so that she could sit down. She is currently on crutches, and when my brother-in-law got her a chair and helped her sit down, my sister got extremely mad at my wife for being too friendly with her man. My wife was confused and explained that she just wanted a seat, but my sister wasn't having any of it. She started full on yelling at my wife for doing what she always does and ruining other people's relationships. My sister has a loud voice, so literally everyone stopped and looked at her and my wife. My wife looked pretty embarrassed and just muttered a sorry and even tried to stand up, but I butted in and told my sister to stop yelling at my wife and to stop acting extremely insecure in front of other women and go for counseling or something. For whatever reason, my sister ran out of the room crying after that, and my wife and I left soon after. My brother-in-law texted an apology on behalf of my sister, but told me that I was a little rude and that I should have apologized. My wife thinks that I may have been too harsh, and my entire family is split. Some saying that I was too mean to her, and some saying that I wasn't. Am I the a-hole? Look, I'm gonna be honest with you. All you did was stand up for your wife. Your sister is choosing to be with the man that broke her heart. She walking around with the I'm with stupid face. She's embarrassed, insecure, doesn't trust her man, much less any woman around him. Not to mention, when somewhere in her messed up brain probably told herself that your wife wanted her man, and that's the reason why she was telling her his secrets. I don't know. Either way, you are not the a-hole and neither is your wife. You didn't make a scene, you ended it. And if anybody was going to look stupid or be embarrassed in this situation, I'm pretty sure you and your wife would prefer that it's her and not one of you guys. But no, you are not the a-hole, she is. Hit that follow button and subscribe to the Church of Joe Stone podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. The link is in the bio, and I am Joe Stone. Bye. Am I the asshole for telling my boyfriend with cirrhosis that I'm not donating my liver to him? My boyfriend, a 30-year-old male in the past, had a binge drinking problem before we met. By the time we met, he had been sober for years, but he had cirrhosis on his liver that doesn't look to be getting better and some really bad lab results. He also had an embolism in his lung that reduced lung function and diabetes. He went to a liver specialist who mentioned that my boyfriend might need a liver transplant in the future, and he became pretty bummed about that, understandably. He then, not seriously, but kind of hopefully, let me know that I should donate part of my liver to him if we met. I told him no, and that I was kind of shocked he would ask. We've been dating 8 months, and while I like him, well, okay, I kinda get you. And while I like him, I'm not convinced he's the one yet. He has a lot of qualities I like, but some that drive me up the wall, including having poor personal hygiene and not looking after his diet and eating mostly fast foods, which probably caused the diabetes. He was surprised and then tried to cover it up, saying he didn't expect it and was just joking. I felt like he was serious but didn't want to seem that way, and told him I would only think about doing something so personal for a parent, sibling, or spouse, and only if we were on good terms. Then he joked that he could just marry me to get my liver, and I told him now that he mentioned it, it would make any marriage proposal seem disingenuous, so I wouldn't get matched to see if I was a candidate beforehand. Okay, I've been on her, but that's actually kind of a good idea. He got serious and told me that the liver isn't a big transplant, and I would still be able to keep part of my liver. I told him that it doesn't matter that the liver regenerates, and I wouldn't even think about doing it for just a boyfriend. He got offended and said that he would do it for me if the situation was reversed, and I said the problem is the situation isn't reversed, so I'm not convinced he would do it just because he's spouting platitudes. He got really angry and stormed out, and hasn't been back in hours. Am I the asshole for being overly honest with him that I wouldn't donate any liver for him? Ooh, this one is complicated and I probably am going to get it wrong. But first of all, I don't think you're the a-hole. Let's just throw that out there. You're not the a-hole. Are you the nicest person in the world? Oh, hell no. No one's ever gonna be like, oh, you remember that nice girl with the sweet personality? No. Like, yeah, I know you're probably going through all type of mental distress, and you're probably dealing with depression and trying to like hold yourself together, and I'm probably your support system because I am your girlfriend. But if you need some help and it costs me way too much, well, guess what? You're on your own, Playboy. And while that is not the nicest thing in the world, it does not make you the a-hole. No one can be mad at you for telling the truth. And in this situation, I applaud your bravery and just saying how you felt. You probably knew that was coming at some point, and you already knew that you weren't going to do it. So instead of just waiting around or having him think in the back of his head that he had something planned that was never going to happen, you told him straight up. And I respect that. Being direct, especially in a situation like this, saves everybody a whole lot of trouble. He may not like it, hell, it may break you up, and it damn sure hurt him, but you are not the a-hole, and to be honest, I don't think he is. I just think he's trying not to die. Hit that follow button and subscribe to the Church of Joe Stone podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. The link is in the bio. See you in the next one. Bye. Am I the asshole for not helping my wife buy a dental office when she was the one that insisted that we have a prenup before we got married? My wife and I are in our very late 30s. Very late. Jesus, can't be just late. When we were getting married, we both were making about the same. Neither of us had anything. I didn't want a prenup because I don't think that's how a marriage should work. But my wife wanted a prenup because she was going to dental school and thought when she opens her own clinic, she will make way more money than me and didn't want to share any of that in case something happened. Long story short, reluctantly, I agreed to the prenup that also had a provision for future assets. And we basically have had separate finances ever since. To clarify, it's 50-50 when it comes to shared expenses like groceries or going out, but she doesn't pay anything towards our mortgage. Recently, she started thinking about opening her own clinic and wants to buy a place which costs about $2 million, give or take, including any potential renovations and all the equipment. She won't get approved for a $2 million loan and does not have 20% to put down, not to mention she would need some buffer as well to pay employees and etc. for a couple of months until business picks up. Part of this is understandable. University and dental school were expensive and she started working later in life, but she also in general spent money liberally. I graduated at 22 and over the years bought 3 houses and save up regularly to buy more rental properties / invest in stock. I can help her get a loan and pay her down payment, but since she wanted a prenup when we got married, I don't see why I should just give her or even lend her that much money. I told her I can help her with the loan, pay the down payment, be a co-signer, and pay the expenses until it is profitable if she splits the clinic 50-50 and no need to pay me back. Or I can loan her the money at 8% interest. She started losing it and being shocked at how I would even think about trying to take a percentage of her business. And also, people say 8% is a lot, but keep in mind she can't get a loan on her own. If I'm risking $600,000 on a down payment and expenses for a few months when no bank would, then this is the interest rate I would be comfortable with and she should be able to pay it back. The way buying dental clinics works is they are valued based on how much cash flow they have currently. And based on the clinic she is looking at, she should be able to make good money. Anyways, people around us are saying that I'm being unreasonable and greedy. I disagree. My wife wanted a prenup and separate finances. She is getting just that. I don't see why I should help her with no benefit to me. Am I the a-hole? Sir, you are not the a-hole in this situation, and I'm with you. This is the thing. If you help her open up this clinic without any conditions, if she decides to leave you afterwards, you get nothing, even though all the risk is on your back. You're putting up all the upfront money, but get to share in none of the reward if you break up. And hell, even if you're together because your finances are completely separate. So she's gonna tear up the capital that you have for your business to help her business, and you get nothing out of it. Hell, not even trust in the form of not having a prenup. So no, you are not the a-hole, she is. Hit that follow button and subscribe to the Church of Joe Stone podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Links are in the bio. I am Joe Stone. Bah! Am I the asshole for telling my sister that her husband would take her more seriously if she didn't dress like she did? I am a 26-year-old female, and my sister Anna, a 24-year-old female, married my friend Lance, a 27-year-old male. He was the cool guy in our friend group, handsome, mysterious, smart, quiet, and I don't know how she ended up with my sister. She's the total opposite, loud, funny, and outgoing. She's beautiful though, really beautiful. I don't know why this perfect guy chose my sister, even though she's absolutely drop dead gorgeous, and everybody talks about it. What? And when they got together, everyone said how good they looked. Anna seemed to be really in love with him all the time. She used to say how dreamy he was, how good he treated her, and how spoiled she felt. But Lance was always so stern and quiet. She would revolve around him at family gatherings, but he wouldn't engage that much with everyone but me and her. I was surprised when he asked her to marry him. My sister never took the wifey role too serious. She had a non-traditional wedding, and Lance went along with it. She made a bunch of rules that he agreed to, and then they moved to his house. Anna banned house utensils from the wedding gift list. She doesn't work, didn't finish her studies, and doesn't plan on having kids. Okay. My sister is pretty much only into her looks, and I didn't think Lance cared for that before. She's always on Snapchat or Instagram. I thought that after getting married, she would dress more appropriate, since she used to use crop tops, blouses, dresses, and shirts that showed her cleavage, short skirts or tight jeans, but she said that Lance likes her just fine. Last week was my dad's birthday and we had a party. My sister and Lance came and she was wearing a pretty short floral dress. Nonetheless, most of the men were looking at her, including my dad's friends. Lance was as stoic as always, and my sister came to my mom and said that she didn't know why he was so quiet, since he's not like that, even though he is like that. What the F? So I told her that if she didn't dress like that, he might take her more seriously. She got sad and sat quietly the rest of the night, and I didn't think much of that. But a few days ago, Lance texted me and said that he would appreciate it if I didn't comment on his wife's way of dressing again. Did I miss something? Am I the asshole? Look, I'm gonna be honest with you. It sounds like your little sister married the man that you wanted. It sounds like she got the dude that you were into the most, and you were just jealous and bitter. All of this has nothing to do with you. I get it. She didn't handle Lance or her marriage the way that you would. Well, guess what? Luckily, Lance ain't choose you, so that don't really fucking matter. And if Lance is happy and she is happy, why are you sitting in the corner hating from the sidelines? Cause that's all I heard this entire goddamn story, is you hating. So yes, you are the a-hole, not everybody else, not your fine ass sister, and not her fine ass man who you might be in love with. Hit the follow button and subscribe to the Church of Joe Stone podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. The links are in the bio. I am Joe Stone. Bah. Am I the asshole for kicking a girl out of our friend group for turning me down when I asked her out? This could be simp behavior, but we gonna find out. So I, a 26-year-old male, own my own house and it has an in-ground pool. Since I live in a warm weather state, my friends love to come over. The past few months, my house has turned into a hangout spot among friends. My best friend Tyler is dating Gwen. Gwen has a friend named Julie. We all have known each other ever since freshman year of college. I've always had a crush on Julie, and we've always been a part of the same group. One night a few weeks ago, I decided to just go for it and text her to ask her out. She told me that she liked me as a friend, and I told her I totally understood and thought that would be the end of it. Well, fast forward, and the next pool day came. I typically send out a giant group text to invite everyone. I decided to not invite Julie this time, but she showed up. Not even with Tyler or Jen. She came with some of the other friends in our group, and it was just really awkward. She tried talking to me the whole time. I'd say something quickly and try to leave. She partnered with me for every drinking game. We have never spoken that much even before I asked her out. After she left that night, I told Tyler and Gwen what happened. Gwen told me she already knew, and I told them that I didn't really want her around anymore. Gwen said she would talk to Julie about it. Well, this past Saturday, I had another pool day. Similar thing. Sent out the text, left Julie off of it, and I invited another girl that I've been talking to. Well, Julie still showed up again, but this time she spends the whole day talking to the new girl I brought. They became besties. My guy can't win. Like, look, I set you free. You told me no. Why you keep coming over here? Why you talking to the new chick that I brought up? What are you doing? Julie even told the girl that I asked her out before. It was just incredibly awkward for me. So this Sunday, I text Julie individually and I told her that I didn't want her around anymore and that she shouldn't come to the next get-together as I felt uncomfortable. She didn't respond. But now people in the friend group are calling me an a-hole, saying that I host most weekends, so it's pretty harsh to put her out. Am I the a-hole? Look, I'm going to be honest, and this is going to piss off some feminists because I feel like women are going to see this situation from their point of view and not the man's point of view. Now, what I do not condone before we even get started is you or any man treating a woman like a piece of crap simply because she doesn't want to date you. And I know a lot of women are probably going to say, well, she didn't do anything wrong. Why would you ban her from the house and kick her out of the friend group? Now, because she doesn't want to have sex, y'all can't be friends and she can't be around? I get it. She kept coming over when she wasn't invited, but to be fair, she's been coming over this whole time and she thinks that it's a friend thing and it's a friend group thing, so why wouldn't she show up? But you not wanting to be there was validated by her actions. What do I mean? Why in the hell would Julie throw salt on your game by telling the girl that you're talking to now, oh, he asked me out too? We all know that that is something that women do to show the other woman, well, I could have had him, but I turned him down. It does not make the man look any better in that woman's eyes. It makes him look worse and goes to show why you had every right to kick her out of your home and keep her from coming back. So in conclusion, you are not the a-hole, and I would say she kind of is. Hit that follow button and subscribe to the Church of Joe Stone podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. I am Joe Stone. The link's in the bio. Bow. Am I the asshole for wanting to give my nephew up to social services? So I, a 32-year-old female, understand that this may make me come across as a heartless bitch, but it is what it is. Not too long ago, my sister-in-law died in a car accident. My brother died years ago, so her death has left my nephew, a 12-year-old male, orphan. I've always maintained a child-free life for a number of reasons, mainly because I'm ace, so no interest in having a family, and autistic. I've never been good around children, and due to my autism, looking after myself has been a hassle enough. So I know that I'd make an awful parent or guardian, especially when it comes to the emotional side of things. Ever since the accident, I've been looking after my nephew, and without exaggeration, it has been absolutely draining on me. My entire life and my routine has been derailed because of this, which I know isn't my nephew's fault, but it's been putting me under an amount of stress that I can't handle. The problem is that aside from myself, there is no one in our family who was able to take care of him. My parents are elderly and in their late 70s, so they can't look after him. Custody hasn't been sorted out yet, and if I was to decline, my nephew will be placed into the foster system. I know it isn't great or the best outcome for him, but I'm dedicated to giving him over to them. They'll be able to find people who can better care for him and who want to take care of him, as bad as that sounds. I haven't told him my decision yet, but I have made my parents and friends aware, and well, their reaction has been worse than I expected. Obviously, I didn't think they would be okay with it, but my parents are threatening to end communication with me, and a lot of my friends are telling me that if I go through with this, they'll distance themselves from me as well. Obviously, I'm aware that my nephew wants to stay with family and that he could suffer from going into the foster system, but I can't take care of him in the way that he needs. I can't afford to take on the cost of getting a big apartment with a room for him, let alone bring him up or take care of him. I think it's best that others do it. They'll do a better job than I can. But still, people are calling me heartless and are making me out to be some type of monster for this. Am I the a-hole? This is probably the worst one that I've had to do in a while, or maybe even so far, because it's so complicated. So look, to be honest, I'm on the fence on this one, and in the comments, y'all gonna have to judge. Honestly, this is awful. The kid has lost both his parents and probably assumed that he'd be taken care of by his family. That's just kind of how kids think things are supposed to work. I couldn't imagine being 12 years old and then finding out that no one really gives a shit or cares enough about you to take care of you. It's sad, and hell, it makes me want to cry. And to be honest, I also believe you. I don't think that you are equipped to handle this situation. I do think it's taking all you got to take care of him. It doesn't sound like you got much money and you didn't sign up for this stress, and I get where you're coming from. And it also doesn't sound like you're the type of person who's going to put his needs above your own. And I don't know if that has anything to do with your diagnosis or not, but it's really just a sad situation. Maybe instead of turning him over to social services, you could talk to your friends and family who are having an issue with this and see if there's some type of way that they could all help. Maybe as a group, as a community, you guys could come up with something so that he doesn't have to go live with complete strangers. I don't think you were the a-hole because I don't think that you're coming from a negative space, but I feel terribly sorry for this child who has already had their life rocked in so many different ways and is now about to have to go through it all over again. Let me know in the comments what you think, though. I'm not even gonna judge this one. Hit the follow button and subscribe to the Church of Joe Stone podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. I'm Joe Stone. But am I the asshole for asking my wife to dress up and not down after I got fed up with her looking like a... My wife and I have been married for 6 years now. My wife, Grace, is beautiful. She's a very girly girl, liking things like pink, flowers, purses, and heels. Before the pandemic, Grace would always dress for a runway. She would have on makeup, heels, dresses, perfume, smooth skin, etc. During the pandemic, though, my wife's job got moved to at home. She stopped her beauty routine and spent most of the days in long t-shirts, shirts, and sweatpants or pajamas. I understood it, though, since we weren't really going anywhere. Grace also stopped wearing makeup, doing her hair, and shaving. But I like having a beautiful wife, and I figured it was till her job got moved back to the office. Now things are open again. My job has moved to the office, but Grace told me that she didn't want to return and opted to keep working from home. Her wardrobe has completely changed in the last 2 years of the pandemic. She hardly wears her dresses, cute shirts, skirts, makeup, or anything like before. It's men's t-shirts with sayings on them like grumpy, jeans, sweatpants, and tennis shoes. And she has completely stopped shaving and waxing. Now she'll dress up a bit if we go out or if we have company, but that's it. Grace tells me it's too much work. Before the pandemic, we went on a date night. Since we haven't done it in a long time, I suggested a night out in an expensive restaurant. I did pick this restaurant on purpose. Grace said no and suggested we order takeout. When I refused, she suggested a restaurant like IHOP or Chili's. Her excuse? She didn't feel like shaving her legs for one of her dresses and wanted to be comfortable. I finally snapped. I snapped saying, it wouldn't hurt you to dress up for once. She accused me of only liking her looks. This isn't true. I told her I just was tired of feeling like I'm living with a homeless woman. Grace ended up locking herself in our bedroom. I know my words were harsh, and I ordered a pizza and tried to apologize, but Grace wouldn't open the door. I slept on the couch. Right now, Grace is still giving me the cold shoulder, refusing to speak to me or be in the same room as me. I know I hurt her feelings with my words. However, I think this is depression or isolation from the pandemic, since before Grace had no problems looking like a model. Am I the a-hole? This is gonna get me in trouble with women, but I'm gonna need y'all to please listen with an open mind and heart and understand that there are other perspectives than just the woman's perspective. Listen, if a woman wants to groom her body in a certain way or dress a certain way, she has every right to do so. But at the same time, that is not what this man signed up for. If I marry you and when I marry you, you are fit, beautiful, you take care of yourself a certain way, you smell a certain way, you look a certain way, and that is the person that I marry, I have every right to lose attraction or have an issue if you suddenly become a different person. Now, I am not saying that he has the right to determine how she feels and what she wears. I am saying, though, how he feels is valid. Not saying he executed talking to her or handling the situation in the correct way. I do not think he did that. But sir, and everybody else, how you feel is a valid feeling. Now, I understand for women, these things can either be the best part of their life or the worst. Some women genuinely love being girly girl and putting on makeups and perfumes and painting their nails and all of that stuff. Some women hate it. And just because a woman liked it at one point doesn't mean she's gonna like it for the rest of her life. She has every right to grow and change. But you also have every right to have a conversation when that happens. But I wish you the best, and yeah, you kind of the a-hole in the situation. Hit that follow button and subscribe to the Church of Joe Stone podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. I am Joe Stone. Am I the asshole for naming my kids without their dad's input after he abandoned me and did this? I, a 23-year-old female, recently had twins about 7 weeks ago. Me and their dad was engaged, planning on getting married, and did plan the pregnancy. He was the one who had really pushed the idea and convinced me. So when he decided to up and leave when I was about 14 weeks pregnant, it sucked. During my pregnancy, we had minimal contact, mainly around custody and a few requests on updates with the pregnancy. Surprisingly, he did fight for custody. He'll have visitation and parental rights, but that's it. The last time we talked before the babies were born, it was 3 days before my C-section. This was planned and he was aware of the date/location. The babies were in the NICU for 2 weeks, and during this time he didn't text or visit. Obviously, you need to name your kids, so I ended up choosing them myself since we hadn't gotten to that stage. I also gave them my last name since I'll be the one to do the appointments, etc., and raising them. And honestly, from his lack of interest throughout pregnancy, I didn't think he cared. 3 weeks after they were born, I had taken them home and he pops up. He asks what I named them, and when I tell him, he said they don't look like their names and their names are stuck up names. He then says their names and his last name, but I corrected him and told him they'd taken my surname. He got pissed and it became a tense situation. He demanded I change their names and I said no. He told me to combine our last names. I said no. I told him that a parent that fights for 0% custody of their kids doesn't show much concern or care about said kid, especially since there are no physical or mental reasons to not be able to parent. He told me that I was unreasonable and unhinged. I told him that paying child support was the bare minimum, and that if he wanted a say in their names, he should have shown up or called when they were born, and not waited 3 weeks to even ask what his own kids' names were. Am I the a-hole? Hey, I want to do a public service announcement. Here at the Church of Joe Stone, we do not support men who do not support their kids. There ain't nothing gangster or player about leaving babies without dads. That's just my opinion. Anyway, are you the a-hole? No, you are not in any shape or form. Like you said, a man that fights for 0% custody doesn't really get to pull cards around here. He doesn't get a say, and it'd be one thing if you guys were just having fun and you got pregnant, but the fact that he sat down and planned these children with you and then just disappeared shows that he's a poor excuse for a man, and with one baby, that would be terrible. The fact that you apparently had twins is even worse. I hate that you have to go through this, and I wish you the best, but you are not the a-hole. You are not unhinged. You had every right to name those kids whatever you want to name them, and do not let that man convince you of anything else or anyone else convince you of anything else. He is the a-hole. Hit that follow button and subscribe to the Church of Joe Stone podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. I am Joe Stone.